Hey everyone, this has been such an awful time and changing daily, getting worse daily. People are just panicking and getting such poor leadership from the government, and that's getting better a little bit, but not enough to really calm the markets and the closures and the shuttering of businesses. And those of us who are teaching are trying to do things remotely, and that's awesome because it might be a good thing. We might be getting better at something that we needed to get better at anyway. So there'll be some silver linings of this. But one of the silver linings, I think, is that this is bringing out the best in the sort of local grassroots connection between your neighbors, between your family. You're home from work, you're spending time together again. Um, and I started to think about, the ways in which this whole situation is making us realize our humanity again, realizing our togetherness, you know. So I thought about this and in relation to music especially, and I think there are actually three ways in which music is universal. I mean, first of all, it's a universal language. I mean, it doesn't matter where you're from, what background you have, you hear a beautiful piece of music. I just heard Yo-Yo Ma play something on the PBS NewsHour, and they're setting up a hashtag, Sounds of Comfort, I think it is. Anyway, to post some music that's just there out for people to listen to and enjoy and feel better, and again, to tap the humanity in all of us. And I think that's a great idea because it's just such a universal language, and you can cross all racial lines, all ethnic lines, all religious lines, all any lines, political or otherwise, that you can think of, and music will cross them. And so arts really bond people together that way, just because it's a language we all speak. And secondly, we know that one of the things that evolved in human beings in the beginning was sound. It's possible that we actually chirped sort of like birds to each other. When you think of the sort of clicking noises that some nationalities and some ethnicities tend to use more than we do in the West. And if our species evolved on the continent of Africa, which is really likely, a lot of the rhythms and the sounds and the tonalizations and vocalizations that are primal to human beings that are developed there. And there's a lot of evidence, in other words, that we sang before we spoke, that music developed before language. So it's not only that it's a universal language, but it's sort of a universal origin for all of us. We sort of grew up out of this. In Suzuki, we talk about the mother tongue approach. Music is like a language that we hear, and when we hear it at a young age in particular, we pick it up really well, really easily. And I think one of the reasons for this is it's just wired into our very being, our very DNA. We just evolved out of this deep connection to sound. And then thirdly, I think it's universal simply in the fact that it calls forth the best in us. In Suzuki, we talk about every child can. And that's not only about the idea that anyone can play this instrument, and anybody, if you have the right environment and the right kind of support, anybody can do this. It's not a matter of talent. It's not a matter of being born special or something. You can learn this, but that vision is also one of the heart, of spirit, of that every person is worth something. So in other words, the belief of Suzuki was that every child is worth something. And that's much more than musical skill, isn't it? That's an aspiration. And that's something that we can all look forward to as we reach out together in this time, that we can tap this spirit that's in us. And this is, you might think of this as something spiritual or religious or about faith. Whatever that universal thing that happens when we feel called to our highest selves, I believe music brings that out. So we come together now in this time, but it's in recognition that our universal heritage, our universal soul, if you will, is is brought out by music, and that's because it's a universal language, it's a universal origin that we have, going back deep in time, and it's also a universal future, universal aspiration, and even a spiritual attainment that we can really strive for and also allow to flower in our lives. So I hope this has given you some hope and some good vibes to think about in the next coming days and weeks. And stay tuned as I'll try to be contributing some more of this in the days to come. So thanks for listening, and be well.